Welcome back to Succulents in the City. Today's superstar is Crassula Moonglow. So this is, oh, look at that. Yeah. So this is not like a usual episode that I have. Like, oh my God, look at this beautiful plant. I've had this for years and years. And this is what it likes and blah, blah, blah. This is more of a little bit of a struggle that I'm having. And we all go through this with the plant hobby, obsession, addiction, whatever you want to call it. So this is my Crassula Moonglow. It is the end of August. I probably got this in the middle of June. I ordered it and it was beautiful. It actually had a flower. My feline daughter, Coco Bean, decided to eat that flower, so that's what happened to it. There was another one, and it actually rotted, so I cut it. But before it rotted, I cut the top off, and that's what's growing there. So this actually, I saw this rotted a couple days ago, so I cut it, and I'm just waiting for the callus, and then I'm gonna plant it. So, yes. This is a plant that I'm struggling with. Why do I feel that I can do an episode on this plant? Because I had an apartment a long time ago. It had a solarium window and everything would grow there. And this was one of the plants that I had. So join me as I try to save this plant and fix it. If you guys have any ideas to help me with this plant, please put it in the comments. So, I know I mentioned to you that Coco Bean ate that flower, the Crassula, okay? If you Google Crassulas, if they're toxic to cats, it says yes, they are. Clearly, she's fine. Yeah, you're good. She's happy. She's living her best life. She's probably got a better life than most people I know. So, did she die from eating the Crassula? No. Would I recommend it? No. To be honest with you, the only plant that ever sent a cat of mine to the hospital is the actual cat grass. This is Leo. When Leo was a baby, Leo ate too much cat grass and ended up in the hospital at 5 in the morning. It was a pandemic. I had to wait for him. It was like February. It was so cold. They wouldn't let me in the hospital with him. I had to wait in the Chase Bank vestibule. It was terrible, but he did that because he ate too much cat grass. So, out of all the cats I've had in my life, which is my whole life, that's the only time a cat ended up in the hospital from the cat grass. So, do I recommend feeding your cats Crassula? No. But if you have one and the cat happens to bite it, are they gonna die? More than likely not. Okay, let me talk to you guys a little bit about Crassulas. Crassula is a very large group of plants, and they all look different. These are my Crassulas here. This, I think they call it a Gollum Jade here that I've had forever. This is the propeller plant. That's a watch chain. That's a watch chain. Here's our superstar Moonglow. And this is something that I just bought. Red Village or Red Pagoda or something. So really, like, they don't look like they could be related to each other. And it's just, a lot of the information that you can find online is confusing because it says Crassulas are dormant in the summer and they grow in the winter. But, you know, a lot of people have jade plants and these things grow all year. So, I think it really varies on the certain plant. Now, add the fact that I'm growing this inside to the whole situation. So the plant doesn't really feel like a super cold shift in the weather. And that gets a little bit more confusing. So, it's really a little bit about a trial and error to find out which particular conditions or how much water the particular Crassula you're trying to grow likes. Like, and another thing about Crassulas here, you could see this really good on this watch chain here. The bottom dries up, right? Not so much different from the jade plant, but the jade plant looks nice. It looks like a tree. But this guy, when it dries up, it looks like it's like struggling or suffering or something. It doesn't look fabulous. So, but it's very much alive, you know? So Crassulas can be a little bit difficult. You know, you really gotta, when you get a Crassula, you know, you have to really pay attention to the individual that you bought and figure out what it likes. Now, what I did with this Moonglow before I discovered the second stem was rotting, and I'm thankful I did, is that I cut the top off and I made a propagation. Lately, I've been doing that with plants like this. I did that with a bunch of my echeverias, just so in case something happens and the main plant doesn't survive, there's somebody's there, someone's alive. So I do recommend that you do that, but wait until the plant has gotten used to your conditions. Don't do it like the day the plant arrives from the mail order nursery. You know, just wait a couple of months. So the first thing I'm gonna do to try to save my Crassula Moonglow is to unpot it and see what the roots look like on that surviving thing. I know this little thing that I cut off has some roots. Let me see if I can get that to focus. Yeah, I cut this off a couple weeks ago and it has formed some roots. So now what's going on with this one is a question mark. I'm just gonna very delicately, there's Coco. I'm gonna very delicately remove the soil from the roots and examine the stem. So this is what the stem looks like. These are some pieces, these are old dried up leaves that were on the stem. I took those out. You want to take those out because mealy bugs and other pests can hide in there. I'm looking at this. It looks, See, here's another piece of the leaf. You really want to get that out. It looks okay. This does not look rotten to me. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna plant this with this and the other piece that I cut in a little bit of a larger pot. All right, so this is the piece of the stem that I cut this guy off of. I discovered that this was rotting maybe yesterday or the day before. So I cut the roots off and I took the roots out of the pot and I left this to dry. So now it has a callus. And here's all the soil. I'm just going up to the next size pot. You don't want to pot them much bigger than what they're in already. So what I'm gonna do is basically take the soil that they're in and add some aquarium rocks. Why aquarium rocks? Because there's 2 Home Depots on the island of Manhattan, one on 23rd Street and one on 58th Street, and neither of them have had perlite the whole summer. I don't know why. Did I order some from Amazon? I did, but I went through it. So what I have is aquarium rocks. If you watch a bunch of plant videos on how to take care of plants, you know, you're gonna hear people say, oh, you know, 50 to 70% inorganic material. Inorganic material basically means like rocks. Or they say pumice, they say this, they say that. So it's basically stuff that wasn't alive. Like, so no soil, no peat, you know, so inorganic is rocks. What I have is aquarium rocks. Yeah, I think it needs a little bit more. So basically what I'm doing is since I'm potting it up one size, I'm taking whatever soil was in the original pot and just adding some rocks to it. Why? Because this plant was from Mountain Crest Gardens, and they grow their plants with the ideal conditions. They're in California, they have a nursery, they have the sun. I am growing this in Manhattan on my window, so the chance of this being unhappy here versus there is much greater. So when a succulent is unhappy, really the only thing that's going to happen is that it rots. Well, that's not the only thing. That's the worst thing that can happen, is that it rots. Then, you know, end of story. So, but if you just add rocks to it, it makes it more faster draining, as they say. And, you know, if you water it a little bit too much, it might be a little bit more forgiving because there's nothing in there to absorb the water and keep the roots wet. I'm actually adding a lot more rocks in here. The one thing I will tell you, if you put aquarium rocks instead of perlite or pumice, the pot is going to be very heavy. So it's going to be a little bit harder to tell if your plant needs water. So I'm just going to put some rooting powder on this cutting here. And place it on top. Now, no one's getting any water for a while. I'll be back in a couple weeks, maybe a little bit longer, and give you an update on these guys. Hi guys, I have a happy update for my Crassula Moonglow. This piece right here has roots. I checked it a couple days ago. You're not supposed to keep taking it out of the soil, so I'm not going to show you the roots. This piece is also growing. A couple days ago it had no roots, but those two little babies on the side is promising. So all right, there you go, Crassula Moonglow. The original videos were taken August the 28th. Today's September 30th. So about a month. Thank you. See you on the next one.